Gut. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha गिरिवारधारी जय गोपीचंदवल्लभा गिरिवारधारी यशोदनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यशोदनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन जमुनातीरावनचारी जमुनातीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंजा बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंजा बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंजा बिहारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Gaur Premanande, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Today's Chaitanya Charitamrita. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, Chapter 23, Life's Ultimate Goal, text. Thirty-two. Okay. Namagane Sadaruchi Laya Krishna Nam.
Namagane Sadaruchi Laya Krishna Nam.
Namagana Sadaruchi Laya Krishna Nam.
Namagane Sadaruchi Laya Krishna Nam.
Namagane Sadaruchi Laya Krishna Nam.
Namagane Sadaruchi Laya Krishna Nam. Namagane Sadaruchi Laya Krishna Nama.
Namagana Sadaruchi Laya Krishna Nam.
Namagane Sadaruchi Laya Krishna Nam.
Namagana Sadaruchi Laya Krishna Nam.
Namagane Sadaruchi Laya Krishna Nam.
Namagana Sadaruchi Laya Krishna Nam.
Namagane Sadaruchi Laya Krishna Nam.
Namagana Sadaruchi Laya Krishna Nam. Mataji's.
Namagane Sadaruchi Laya Krishna Nam.
Namagane Sadaruchi Laya Krishna Nam.
Namagane Sadaruchi Laya Krishna Nam.
Namagana Sadaruchi Laya Krishna Nam. Namagane.
Namagane.
In chanting the holy names.
Chanting the holy names.
Sada.
Sada.
Constantly.
Constantly.
Ruchi.
Ruchi.
Taste.
Taste.
Relish.
Relish.
Laya.
Laya.
Takes.
Takes.
Krishna Nam.
Krishna Nam.
The Hare Krishna mantra.
The Hare Krishna mantra.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Due to having great relish for the holy name, one is inclined to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra constantly. Please repeat after me. Due to having great relish
Due to having great relish
for the holy name,
for the holy name,
one is inclined
one is inclined
to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra
to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra
constantly.
constantly.
So this verse has no purport. So we continue. Text 33. Rodana bindu marandasyandi drik drik indira ruchya govinda thava madhura swara kanti gayati nanava limbala. O Govinda, this youthful girl named Radhika is today constantly pouring forth tears like nectar falling from flowers as she sings your holy names in a sweet voice. Purport. This verse is found in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.3.38. Text 34. Krishna Gunakshane Haya Sarvadha Ashakti. At this stage of bhava, a devotee has awakened the tendency to chant and describe the transcendental qualities of the Lord. He has attachment for this process. Text 35. Maduram Maduram Vapur Asya Vibhor Maduram Maduram Vadanam Maduram Madhu Gandhi Mridhu Smittam Etat Aho Maduram 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 Maduram. Translation. O my Lord, the transcendental body of Krishna is very sweet, and his face is even sweeter than his body. But his soft smile, which has the fragrance of honey, is sweeter still. Purport. This is a verse quoted from Bilva Mangal Thakur's Krishna Karanamrita, text 92. Dear, very little purports, so maybe we speak about these last verses. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Maybe I can read the verse once again. Madhuram Madhuram Vapurasya Vibhor, Madhuram Madhuram Vadanam Madhuram, Madhu Kandhi Mridu Smitam Etahavo, Madhuram 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 Madhuram. O my Lord, the transcendental body of Krishna is very sweet, and his face is even sweeter than his body. But his soft smile, which has the fragrance of honey, is sweeter still. So we're in the midst of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instruction to Sanatana Goswami about the life's ultimate goal. And he's quoting a verse from Bilva Mangal Thakur. He's describing in this chapter the stages which a devotee reaches when he comes to spiritual emotions. That state is called bhava. It is a very, very advanced state, as we have got to know from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu a little earlier. There are different stages which a devotee goes through while progressing in his spiritual life, in his devotional service. Starting with Shraddha, developing the faith, and then through that he goes and seeks the association of devotees, sadhu sangha. Then in that association of devotees, he will find one devotee he becomes very attached to and puts all faith in him, taking initiation, then under his guidance performing devotional service, bhajana kriya, and through being engaged in devotional service, his impurities in the heart will be removed, anartha nivritti, and when the unwanted things, anarthas, are removed from the heart of the devotee, he reaches the stage of nistha, meaning fixed. Then devotional service becomes an irrevocable fact. At that stage, the devotee develops taste, ruchi. But that taste is actually higher taste. That taste is for spiritual subject matters, spiritual topics. And through that, reaching that taste, he becomes attached. That is Ashakti, the stage of Ashakti. And then when that attachment becomes stronger, then spiritual emotions develop in the devotee, and that is the stage of bhava. It's also described that bhava, that stage, is the preliminary stage of love of Godhead, of prema, which is the goal of human life, the goal of the living entity's existence. Prema Pumarta Mohan, as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu describes. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very eager to hear the descriptions in Krishna Karnamrita of Bilva Mangal Thakur, as well as there are some other poets which he very much appreciated, like Jayadev Goswami is one of them, and Vidyadabhi and Chandidas. So here he quotes a verse of Krishna Karnamrita written by Bilva Mangal Thakur. Bilva Mangal Thakur is a very special devotee of the Lord. Also Prabhupada used his example many times. At one time he also mentioned that it is very beneficial to speak about Bilva Mangal Thakur because his life is very instructive and very benefiting for devotees to hear. Actually, Prabhupada makes the point there is no difference about narrating or discussing the Lord's pastimes or discussing the lives of pure devotees of the Lord. So Bilva Mangal Thakur was a very great devotee of the Lord. And it is said that he reached in his previous life the state of bhava, which is a very, very high state, as we just got to know. But due to some circumstances, he actually fell down, and he took birth as Silhan Mishra. Prabhupada makes the point that, as Prabhupada states, as Krishna states in Bhagavad Gita, Suchinam Shrimatam Dehi Yoga Prastam Sanjayate, that if one doesn't complete his spiritual life, meaning reaching perfection, his destiny will actually be that he will be born again in a family of Suchinam, means very pure souls, Brahmin souls, or Srimatam, very wealthy, rich family. So Bilva Mangal Thakur got born in such circumstances. He actually took birth in the province of Dravida, southern province, as a child of a very wealthy Brahmin. But somehow or other, Prabhupada makes the point, he actually got sidetracked and attracted to a prostitute. So he was that desperate and attached that at the time of the funeral ceremony of his late father, he actually hurried the priest to please quickly do the sacrifice so he again could join with his lover. Then when the priest obliged and the ceremony was finished, the weather actually turned very bad and there were torrents of rains. Still, Bilvamangal Thakur was desperate to go. So, even being in torrents of rain, he went to the river, but due to the bad weather, there was no ferryman, no ship was there. So he was that desperate that he jumped into the river and swam across the river. By doing that, he actually got hold of some piece floating in the river, not noticing that it was a dead corpse, which he took shelter of. So, after successfully crossing the river, he actually went to the place where that prostitute stayed. But she, thinking that due to the bad weather, Bilvamangal wouldn't come today, she actually locked the courtyard, locked the house. So when Bilvamangal Thakur arrived, the door was closed. So he desperately was knocking, but nobody was opening. So he just decided to climb over the walls. By doing that, he actually got hold of a piece of, which looked like a rope, but actually it was a snake. So he catched the tail of the snake and swung over the wall and finally reached his beloved. So when he reached there, the prostitute, her name was Chintamani, was very astonished and told him, like, if you just would have used the same enthusiasm and determination as you exhibit now trying to reach me, if you would use that in trying to achieve the favor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, how beautiful your life would have been. Hearing that, actually, Bilvamangal Thakur got struck, and in one spur of a moment, he actually recognized the futility of his trying to satisfy in the association of that prostitute, and he decided to completely renounce his life and go to Vrindavan. Prabhupada makes the point that that is actually what happens when one enters spiritual life. One takes up from where where one left in his previous lives. He also brings up the point which Krishna makes in Bhagavad Gita, that where Krishna confirms to his devotee that he always will preserve what is good for the devotee and will supply whatever is needed for him. So there we can see that when a living entity enters in his spiritual life, and that can be, as we can see in the example of Bilvamangal Thakur, in a quite unusual situation, when he actually makes up his mind in order to again enter into the process of spiritual life, of devotional service, he actually picks up from the state where he left in his previous lives. And since Bilvamangal Thakur was that elevated a stage of bhava, he actually exhibited that kind of determination. He immediately decided to give up all his material endeavors and acquisitions and decided to go to Vrindavan to spend his life in devotional service in search of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He also states in the introductory verse of Krishna Karnamrita, he offers actually obeisance to his instructing spiritual master, which is Chintamani. It's also said that Chintamani actually, the understanding is that the spiritual master came back in the form of that prostitute in order to help Bilvamangal Thakur accomplish his devotional life, come to perfection. Prabhupada makes the point that is actually the duty of the spiritual master, that once accepted in the disciple, he will be responsible to lead his disciple to perfection. Then at the same time he quotes his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who told his disciples to be careful and to not make him come again to save them. But there it is quite an instructive feature of Bilvamangal Thakur's process of reaching perfection. Then at the second position, he offers his respect to his initiating spiritual master, which is Soma Giri, and then to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Prabhupada also states that Bilvamangal Thakur actually lived for 700 years. It is said that he took birth in the 8th century in the Shaka area. Shaka area is quite similar to Christian calculation, but it starts at 78 year, so it's about a gap. So when Bilvamangal Thakur decided to give up his material existence and devote his further life completely to the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he actually prepared himself to go to Vrindavan. And on the way, it happened that he came across a beautiful woman once again, and somehow or other the desire in his heart dawned again, to enjoy. So that was a wife of a Brahmin. So she noticed Bilvamangal's eagerness, and she went to her husband to tell that this gentleman, which looks quite educated, staring the whole time at me. So this Brahmin approached Jai Shri Gaur Nitai, Jai Jagannath Baladev Subramani Jai, approached Bilvamangal Thakur and asked him what was his reason for being that excited. So Bilvamangal Thakur said, yeah, he would like to spend some time. So then the Brahmin said, yes, of course. But at that time Bilvamangal Thakur noticed, and he felt extremely bad. So being in the association of that lady, that Brahmin's wife, he requested her to give her her pin, hairpin. So with that hairpin, then he plucked out his eyes, because he felt that his eyesight distracted him that much from the path of serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then, being blinded by himself, he made himself on the way to Vrindavan. And it said that the Supreme Personality of Godhead personally came to lead him to Vrindavan. Then in Vrindavan, he reached that stage where the Supreme Personality of Godhead actually would appear as a coward boy, asking him whether he can give him some milk. So Bilvamangal Thakur asked then who he was and why he came like that. So the boy told him, yeah, he just noticed that he has no eyesight, he's blinded, so he would like to bring him some milk for food. So then after some time, Bilvamangal noticed that this boy was very special. So this is the exchanges of the Supreme Personality of Godhead which he has with his very dear devotees. So Prabhupada makes the point that he actually reached the state of perfection where he entered Krishna's Leelas. So, and at that stage, Bilvamangal Thakur wrote Krishna Karanamrita, which is actually dealing with the very intimate relation and exchanges of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and his beloved Radharani. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu very much appreciated reading these kind of episodes. At the same time, it's also said that in order to properly relish these kind of exchanges, one has to be on the state of consciousness of a pure devotee, otherwise there is danger to misunderstand this relationship as being a normal relationship of human dealings between male and female. So there we can see how special Bilvamangal Thakur is and what it actually means if one reaches that state of consciousness where one is only interested in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But that is only possible if one reaches that stage of taste. As Krishna states in Bhagavad Gita, in order to develop that kind of determination, one has to give up the lower taste and one has to accept being elevated, being blessed with a higher taste in life. It's a very beautiful example which also elaborates that reaching that stage, which is given through the discussion of Ramananda Roy and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, while traveling in the south, was actually requested by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, when he goes in that region, to visit Ramananda Roy. Ramananda Roy was a magistrate in the area of Madras. So he had a governmental post, a very high governmental post. Still he was very advanced, so much that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that he should make a point when he's in that area to seek his association. So then it happened when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went there, he met Ramananda Roy at the Godavari river when that Ramananda Roy was just about to take his bath. Ramananda Roy came in a palanquin. He was carried by his servants in the morning to take his bath, and at the same time Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was there. Already seeing him, he felt overjoyed, but he kept quiet. So when the Ramananda Roy saw that young sannyasi, he immediately stood up and offered his obeisance and asking him who he was and what he was doing here. So then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said who he was and that he was actually coming on the request of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who told him to come and meet Ramananda Roy and that he would like to take his guidance and his blessings. So Ramananda Roy felt very humbled and countered that no, it was actually him who needed his blessing. So both of them felt great ecstasy by meeting, and they embraced for quite some time. So this is also a sign that a devotee who has reached a certain stage of consciousness, he actually can recognize other devotees who have on a similar level, and they feel great joy and happiness being in their association, and that is not dependent upon which social state he actually has. So they actually they embraced each other and enjoyed their association for quite some time. But then one Brahmin came and invited Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to his house for lunch. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu agreed, but he told to Ramananda Roy that they should meet once again and that he would like to take some instructions and guidance from Ramananda Roy. Ramananda Roy replied that it was actually his demand, and that he requests Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to stay for another 4 or 5 days so that his mind, Ramananda Roy's mind, can be purified of his coverings. So they agreed and made a resolution that they will meet again in the evening time. So after taking his lunch in the evening time, they met again, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked Ramananda Roy to please explain what is the supreme process in order for a human being to reach the perfectional stage. To please deliver some verses from the scriptures which give guidance in that request. So Ramananda Roy quoted the words Varnashrama Charavata Purushena Parapumam Vishnu Aradite Panta Namyat Tattosha Karanam, which means that to follow the Varnashram system is the best way to reach perfection in the human form of life, because that will be very satisfactory to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Jnanat tat toshanam. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu agreed, but said, but this is external. Please say more. So then Ramananda Roy continued and said, Yat karosi yadashnasi yat chudosi. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you perform, you do it for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again listened and acknowledged and said, yes, but this is still external. Please be more precise. So then the next verse which Ramananda Roy quoted was Sarvadana Parityaja Mamikam Sharanam Vachaham Sarvebhyo Mokshashami Masujaha, that to give up everything and only engage in activities for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the perfect way. Once again, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu acknowledged but said, this is still external. Please go more deep. So here we can see that it also shows the different stages a living entity goes through. First it is on the basis of karma yoga, through activities which is performed, with the body. But as you go further, it actually gets finer and more finer. So the next verse, which Ramananda Roy quoted was Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na sochati na kankshati sama sarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktim labhate param. So this is actually the state where the living entity recognizes the futility of material activities, or the stage of jnana, monism. Prabhupada makes the explanation, like that. This is the monistic view, to see everything equal on the spiritual platform. Actually meaning that the realization Aham Brahmasmi, I am spirit, is monistic. It's impersonal. But it is the base for devotional service. So from there we actually already can see it is quite advanced, a quite advanced stage to realize actually that we are spirit and not matter. Still, he said, go further. And then from there, Ramananda Roy quoted a statement from Srimad Bhagavatam from Brahma, where Brahma actually says that jnana prayasam udapasya namanta eva. That says that being freed from all kind of empirical speculation and just being engaged with the body, mind and intelligence in the glorification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the proper way to glorify and serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in that way, the one who is unconquerable will actually be conquerable by the devotee. Then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu agreed, yes, that is true. But please explain further. So there Prabhupada makes the point that actually that is the understanding that devotional service, Krishna consciousness, that is the state which is free from any kind of karma or jnana. As also Rupa Goswami states, Anya vilasata sunya jnana karna anavritam, that devotional service, that which satisfies Krishna, is bereft of any mental gymnastic. Or in another way is that whenever there is still a slight endeavor to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead through some jnanic process, that is still some contamination on the part of the living entity. So, and then Ramananda Roy continues going deeper and deeper, elaborating the different stages or the different relationships which a pure devotee of the Lord can develop with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, starting from servitorship, dasya, to friendship, to parental exchange, and finally through conjugal relationship. He also makes the point that all these are actually perfect and according to the desire of the devotee, what kind of relationship he would like to have the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and in that way can't be really judged, but still at the same time there is a difference of intensity of relationship, meaning that the most intense relationship or the most intense exhibition of love is actually the conjugal relationships, which is enacted by the gopis and especially foremost by Srimati Radharani. So in that way, Ramananda Roy established actually the supremacy of the gopis' love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is the teaching of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And these dealings, they're actually described in Krishna Karnamrita. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Are there any comments, questions?
Hare Krishna, thank you, Guru. I had two questions relating to the Bilva Mangala Thakur. One is a technical one, and because I forgot that Bilva Mangala Thakur, is it him who was a sannyasi in the past life and then he fell down? Because you said that he fell from the stage of bhava and then he took rebirth as something Mishra, you said. So if you could please...
Silhana Mishra.
Huh?
Silhana Mishra.
Silhana Mishra. So when does this happen, that he takes birth as Silhana Mishra?
Prabhupada points out that's in the 8th century. And at the same time he says he lived for 700 years in Vrindavan. So these are statements which are given. Prabhupada also refers that actually these informations are given, I can't recount, I think it's he names the scriptures, and I think it's the scripture of the Sri Sampradayas where they give descriptions of the different acharyas. Because at the same time he also calls him that he says that Bilva Mangala Thakur was the foremost disciple of Vishnu Swami. About who he was in his previous life, I don't know. I didn't come across. That he was a Swami, but he must be very elevated. But we also have the other example of Bharat Maharaj, who also reached the state of bhava, but then somehow or other got attached to a young deer. Hare Krishna.
I just had another small question. Like when I reflect on Bilva Mangala Thakur's story, it's one of my favorite stories because it really reflects the state of my heart. Because, yeah, like you can know the absolute truth, but still you get so distracted. And with Bilva Mangala Thakur, it happened again and again. And then he tried, and eventually there is hope because he sees Krishna face to face in a way. Then sometimes I reflect that as devotees or young devotees who are still struggling so much in different aspects of life, and even if you know that your material life is so temporary and degrading, but still there are attachments. So what should we pluck out of our lives to be able to really to be able to really become serious in Krishna consciousness?
Well, I wouldn't propose that any of us plucks out the eyes, because we also ask to follow in the footsteps of the great Vaishnavacharyas. That doesn't necessarily mean, or that doesn't mean at all, to imitate these highly elevated souls. And yes, I also think, like these kind of examples of these highly elevated souls, they're actually meant to give us hope on our path of process of reaching spiritual perfection. And just that we try to do our utmost best, in order to progress and leave the rest to Krishna. Because that was also one of the verses Ramananda Roy quoted, was also the statement of the scripture that no amount of pious activities, can attract the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The only thing is just the complete eagerness to reach that state. And whenever there is a chance to fully submit ourselves, and then it's up to Krishna how he will respond. Yeah. And one main point which I always keep for myself is that, and which is always said, that we should think positive and see it in the positive way. And Prabhupada makes that point many times, like we should just try to engage in devotional service and try our best, instead, opposite to trying to avoid not doing wrong things. Like that goes a little in the line of neti-neti, trying to grasp, through jnana, what is to be done and what is not to be done. That may be very difficult, and still will be some kind of contamination. Whereas the positive way is just trying to engage in the 9 process of devotional service and have full faith that will prepare us automatically, meaning that we don't have to do some extra endeavor to distinguish, meaning by empirical understanding, meaning that the true understanding will come by the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not by our intellectual capacity. Hare Krishna. Yes.
In this word is described so real attachment coming at bhava stage. What do we? How we can attach to holy name before this stage?
That may be like that. This is the real taste, so-called, comes actually when we're fixed. Then it is like naturally. The example is giving, as long as we're not on the stage of nistha, the pulling of the senses is stronger. And once you reach the state of nistha, the pulling from Krishna is stronger. You know, meaning by when we're fixed, naturally a taste develops. In the previous stages, naturally there is a taste to enjoy the senses. But at that stage, it starts to turn the other way. But that shouldn't really the understanding shouldn't arise that up until that there is no attraction. Because it's also said that as soon as the living entity turns his attention to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, actually the Supreme Personality of Godhead makes arrangements. So there is some taste, naturally, already before that. But maybe you can compare it just like a glimpse. Sometimes you get a glimpse and wow, you get attracted. And that's what's happening, meaning it's not that we're suffering and only on the stage of nistha, ruchi, or actually bhava we really get the, and it's not like that. So there is still some hope. Actually, that's the thing, that hope is also a word. It has been said, like that is the feeling of a pure devotee. He actually feels himself completely unqualified, but he has the hope that Krishna will respond. Hare Krishna. Anything else? Grantaraj Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Hare Krishna.
His Grace of Prabhu ki jai.
És is sono rájövök, és ez is valósan und die andere weiß nicht, das zweite schon Prabhupada, das mir schon ein paar Mal eigentlich ausgeht, das ist so irgendwie, ich dachte, hey, also das wird ja einfach gar nicht praktiziert. Und ich habe mich gefragt, also es ist jetzt oft so, dass wir eigentlich schon kann man nicht wirklich ausüben, sondern inkorrekt, also gar nicht so auskommt. Und wir gucken die schon zum höchsten State eigentlich, dass man schon daran verliert. Und ist es eigentlich okay, dass man sagt, ja, ich mache jetzt auch das Höchstmögliche, oder muss man eigentlich wirklich durchgehen und dann muss man wirklich feststellen, wie man schon mal arbeiten, dass man irgendwo hinkommt.
Il Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj ist sehr verglichen mit einem Elevator. Das ist ja die Mercy von Srila Prabhupada und Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Mit du das durch die verschiedenen Steps durchgehst, sondern indem dass du den Prozess von Devotional Service, Krishna Consciousness, die neuen Activities ausführst, dass du automatisch schon auf der Ebene bist. Es ist auf eine Art Achintya Veda Privata. Die Activity ist completely spiritual, aber wo Vanishnandana nicht ist, führt man einfach seine wesensgemäße, also gemäß Varna und Ashram und Aktivitäten durch, und will man das ausführt, oder kommt man Benefit und wird elevated. Und im Krishna-Bewusstsein ist eigentlich, was machen wir? Shravanam Kirtan, Vishnu Smarana, das sind eigentlich alles Aktivitäten, die die sind nicht tinged mit the three modes of material nature, das sind spiritual. So through the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Srila Prabhupada ist das wie ein Lift. So you automatically get purified without going through the different stages.
Wobei wir halt auch sehen, dass man dann eben nicht ganz transzendental ist und ein Problem mit dem eigentlich erstes, also eine Sache hat mit dem Varnashram-System, das ist ja eigentlich auch ein bisschen so, wie wenn man jetzt sagt, ja, ich mache jetzt einen Vortrag und ich Bhakti ins Beste, also oder nicht, ist das etwas ganz anderes. Ohne sozusagen die Regeln einzuhalten, wie ich denke.
Wie die Regeln sind ja eigentlich, also Varnashram sind Leute, die attached sind, oder? Du kannst es so sehen, Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, Varnashram Kanda. Karma Kanda ist für Leute, die attached sind zum Body and Activities. Varnashram in dem Sinne, oder man identifiziert sich mit. Aber Shudra, Vaishya, Kshatriya und Brahmin und verschiedene Ashrams. Und gemäß dem führen es seine Duties aus. Und
Trifft das nicht auf alle zu, oder ist das trifft das nicht auf alle Menschen zu, die eigentlich unter einem Standpunkt von Ishta sind? Weil dann ändert sich dann halt wirklich Conviction, dass man ist der Sohn von Krishna, vorher ist man einfach
Ja.
Body Conception.
Ja, aber eben, das ist ja die Special Mercy von Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, wo er sagt, don't worry about that. Just chant the holy name. Und das ist eigentlich auch die Idee, das Kali Yuga ist so gefallen. Wir sind gar nicht fähig, oder? Die Duties auszuführen. Und Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, don't worry, just chant the holy name and everything will come. Das heißt natürlich nicht, oder? Das ist nachher auch Gefahr. Also das heißt, okay, ich chant the holy name und ich bin jetzt besser als alle anderen. Die Worte denken nicht so. Verstehst du ein bisschen, wie das gemeint ist?
Ja.
Wir müssen nicht separat, oder? Das ist eigentlich der Mercy von Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Wir müssen nicht stufenmässig durch das durchgehen. Weil das geht eben automatisch wie im Lift. Oder Du musst nicht Treppe
Ja.
hochgehen, aber du gehst.
Ja.
Das Bewusstsein wird automatisch gereinigt. Oder? Und ja, von welchem Status von Consciousness du auch bist. Oder? Weil nicht alles ein Bild am anderen Tag, oder was dann einfach macht das so. Oder? Man geht durch das durch. Oder? Aber der Unterschied ist, es ist Mathematik.
Mhm.
Du musst nicht speziell etwas anderes machen als eben die 9 Prozess von der Hochschule.
Ja, stimmt. Ich glaube, das steht jetzt recht viel besser. Also wie du gesagt hast, man muss eher etwas machen, wo eben einen Zucker noch anzieht und dann lässt man ja eigentlich automatisch die schlechte Qualität. Und so ist es ja auch in diesem Prozess, und das werden wir eben champion, dass wir dann automatisch das befolgen.
Nein.
You will take practice.
And then you leave on the 10th?
Yes, 9th or 10th, something like that. But I think 10th, yeah.
I have the luxury, I can do it.
Okay. You want to do it today or?
Give you the luxury?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, give it up.
Okay. Okay, I just have to finish something in the altar.
Okay.
And then I see you in the workshop.
Yeah. Okay.
Jamuna, this is Anna's Mridanga. Do you think you can take it to the room? Especially on a Sunday, it's not so safe to leave it here.
I think she put it there because we have 3 people in the room right now. It's quite.
Then maybe take it to Prabhupada Museum because we don't have space.
Yes.
They have 4 Mridangas, you know. And if it keeps lying around, it will break. Hare just one thing, because you're doing this service regularly, I think you should know. When guests come, it's too dirty to leave it like this, you know. So we always put it like this, half out, and we slide it so it also dries. So we don't leave it on top. We just put the edge here and we dry it like this on the other side.
Thank you.